All right, Cap, I like it, and I think it's about time. So from lay vampire, hunter, aggressor, tracker, and provider, and then from chakra wisdom you pull miracle. Now, absolutely, once you start aggressively tracking down what you want and you find the courage to do this, miracles are going to happen, right? But the thing is, though, the one thing that stuck out to me for both of these was Hunter talks about needing to be honest with yourself about what you're wanting, what you're tracking down. Miracle is about integrity, authenticity, you needing to be truthful no matter what, right? Because your own personal integrity may be on the line, but the thing is we're still looking at miracle. All right, Cap, here's your overall for the week. The 9 of Cups. Happiness. What do you want? What do you really want? When people hear that, they take advantage of it. What do I really want? Well, I want $1 million. I want a big house. I want all this, right? But what we really want is happiness, to be happy, to feel abundant, to be fulfilled, right? Like, I feel like people don't take that question seriously enough, But for you, you are definitely taking a look at it right now. Now, absolutely, with the 9 of Cups, we could be talking about you getting your wishes fulfilled, right? Very nice. I like it. So the 8 of Pentacles is the past coming through. With Cap, that's a given, right? Busting your ass, doing what you have to here to get to a place of happiness and fulfillment and getting what you want. You've worked really hard to get to where you're at, Oh, shit. Cap! What? In the present, the 5 of Pentacles. Man, I hate that because I don't like to look at the 9 of Cups and think, be careful what you wish for, right? Because it just may happen. And you put in all this effort and then you're here at the 5 of Pentacles. Feeling rejected. Possible financial strain. Having to leave a job, right? Maybe for some of you it is a good thing. Maybe you are, leaving a situation where you've put too much time and effort into. It may put you in a tough spot, but damn it, you're going to be happy. You're going to have what you want, right? But we'll see. Okay. Future conditions, the 4 of Swords. I mean, absolutely, we could be talking about you needing to take a break from something. I worry about that 5 of Pentacles, though. Now, because we're talking about you here, I don't think that this is going to have to do with, communication. I think more so it's you needing to find time to recover, right? Because I look at that with the 5 of Pentacles and think, yeah, But then I also feel like for some of you, in order to get what you want, it may cost you a little bit here with the 5 of Pentacles, but I feel like you're willing to do it just to get a moment of peace. Looking at that 4 of Swords, because the 2 of them together look good to me, right? It's just this in the present moment. Oh boy. Your best path to follow, the Lovers, damn. And the 9 of Cups? Because of the 5 of Pentacles being there and looking at the 4 of Swords, if we're talking about a major relationship and the choices that you're making in that major relationship, it could be that you are looking at it going, no, I can't do this anymore. I need to make choices that are going to lead me to a place of love and happiness. Because I still look at that 8 of Pentacles and think, man, you put in a lot just to be in a tough spot. Whether that's you being cast out by somebody else, being rejected by somebody else. But I still feel like this is kind of the progression. Oh my God, if I could talk right. This is the progression of you and your actions, because I'm looking at this as the overall, right? But with the Lovers, I mean, beyond relationships here and major choices, right? What do you love? What do you have a love for, right? I don't know. I feel good about it. And I feel like more so with it being in the advice position that this is really about what you have a love for, who you have a love for, right? Wanting to have that kind of happiness. But the problem is what you have to do right now to get to that, Or, like I said, this could be about you being rejected, being cast out here and needing to recover from that. And maybe that wasn't what you wanted, but now it gives you an opportunity to look at what you really want, right? In your environment, the Knight of Wands. Man. Yeah, I need to drink a coffee here. Because I'm looking at it this way, and I'm looking at these two connected, and I'm looking at it coming down this way, right? So if we're looking at the Knight of Wands connected to the Five of Pentacles, absolutely we could be talking about somebody who doesn't really care about what they're doing or what they're doing to you, and right, the in and out with the Knight of Wands. Now, if we're talking about you and needing to do what is going to make you happy, it may be that you need to start following a passion, following a love here, but it's going to cost you. You know, but I feel like for some of you, you need this, because I'm still looking at a need to recuperate here with the Four of Swords, right? Needing some time to yourself to think about things, you know, almost like needing not to just heal your situation, but heal your mind as well. But I worry about that a little bit. Your hopes and your fears, the Ace of Swords. Man, I don't think that it's about you necessarily needing to communicate a truth or needing to accept the truth. I think that you want clarity. You want the truth. You want to, you know, be able to live your own personal truth, right? With the Ace of Swords being there. But the hope would be to have clarity on this, on a situation, to have the truth brought out. You know, and with the Five of Pentacles being there, if it's needing the truth from somebody who's constantly in and out, doesn't really care about, you know, what they're doing here, right? You know, lack of regard for the consequences of their actions, right? Like, I can understand why you would need that in order to recover, you know? I don't know, Cap. This, I have to be honest with you, for some of you, this feels like not being a part of a person's life, not being a part of a partnership. And I say that because of the Lovers and the Nine of Cups, you know. But again, right, like, it's only going to be for some of you. And when we're talking about your own personal integrity here, needing to track something else down, you know, I think that that's great and all. And I think that the opportunity is absolutely there for you. And it is what you should be doing. But with that Four of Swords, I think maybe you need to do that first, you know. And it's funny because none of this is bad except for that damn Five of Pentacles. Why? You know? And why is it that you're hoping for the truth? And then coming out, the Eight of Wands. So, you know, before things start to pick up speed here, before things start to change a little bit too quickly, you know, like I said, it's like you're needing this. You need to have this, right? You need to have this time to reflect on what you actually want, because what you put time and effort into is not a good thing. You know, like I said, and that's for some of you. Now, on the other hand, I still do feel like you're needing to take a break. It's going to cost you, though. But eventually you get to a place here where you get to take a time out almost, you know, and really think about, what do you actually want? What is the truth, right? But the Lovers is what gets me on this. But with the Eight of Wands, you know, absolutely it could be the communication coming through, you know, you coming out here and communicating something, communicating a truth. You know, you may be dealing with a situation where somebody is like pushing you out. They may think you don't know, but I think you do, you know. And like I said, it's with the Lovers, for some of you, it is going to have to do with a major relationship here, right? But I also feel like it's about you, though, getting back to what you love, you know? All right. King of Wands. At one point, this may be what you wanted, to be involved with this person, right? Now, and I do feel like, because I'm looking at this in this here, that it is going to have to do with another person. You know, possibly dealing with a fire sign here, somebody who doesn't really see you, though, because I see him with his back turned. You know, there's times where I love him and there's times where I hate him. You know, but with what I'm seeing here, this is difficult. The Five of Pentacles and the Knight of Wands, somebody who is constantly in and out, doing their own thing, keeping you on the outside, not wanting you to be in the know here. Clearly, that's not what you want. But with the Nine of Swords here, I think that, you know, all those thoughts about what they may be doing are like driving you nuts. But then not only that, but if you do know the truth here, right, like that may be like torture to you, knowing, right? But what I feel like on this is that everything, all the negative things that you thought, all those worst case scenarios that may be happening with this person, I think that they are the truth. And you know this. You know it already. Now, with the Knight of Swords coming out and looking at, the Four of Swords and the Eight of Wands, I do think that this is you coming out here and communicating something very directly about, I know what the truth is. And really, it's about finding the courage to do that, looking at the Knight of Swords as an action. But it's also saying, no, I'm not doing this anymore. This is not what I wanted. You put so much work and effort into possibly a relationship with a person just for them to do whatever the hell they want. That's rough, right? But I do like that I'm looking at this and this, because it gives you the opportunity here to really think about, what do you want? What is going to make you happy? What is actually going to fulfill you? Because clearly this situation isn't, But I also feel like because of this person's actions, I keep going back to you being in a tough spot, and it may be financially because of this person with the Five of Pentacles. But you'll be fine. Like, I feel like you're going to be fine. Oh, man. I don't know. I feel this to me would be bittersweet from Chakra Wisdom, looking at this, because I still feel like you're going to be able to, aggressively track down what you actually want once you figure it out. And then the Queen of Cups, that may not be a bad thing, right? So now, for those of you who are single or are now finding yourself newly single here, because I kind of feel like that looking at all of this, with the Ten of Pentacles, there is, the security and stability, but it's also about looking at yourself in a relationship, right? Because of the reflection of yourself, the reflection of who you are. It definitely shows, the ability to have a full, abundant relationship. Like, it looks good, but you need to take a look at yourself within the relationship. That is what the Ten of Pentacles is about. Now, it could be that with this showing up, I look at this and I think, if you're finding yourself single now, there may have been a lot of, physical security and stability with the two of you together, but who were you in that relationship? And the only reason why finances and career may be affecting your love life now is because it may be preventing you from moving on to a different relationship. Because I do feel like that. I'm telling you, I do feel like that for some of you, right? Now, on the other hand, if you're getting into a relationship or starting one here, the potential looks good with the Ten of Pentacles, absolutely. But you can't let your financial situation stop you from getting to that place where you feel secure in a relationship, right? But who are you? Who are you in that relationship? Now, for those of you who are in this past life relationship, looking at the Queen of Cups, this may be the person that you're dealing with here, but because of that person, I feel like there's a level of like romance and, emotional investment and attachment. It looks good. It looks like, even though you may have known each other before in a different life, which is great and all, right? But even though that's there, I feel like there's more romance now. There's more of a want to connect, there's more of a feeling of wanting to make this work in this life, is the best way to put it. If I could just spit it out. But with the Queen of Cups, right? Male or female, doesn't matter to me. Water sign, possibly, doesn't matter. But I feel like there's more of a connection there, more of an emotional connection. And you may not have to repeat this shit in the next life, right? But, like I said, Cap, I feel like you need that the Four of Swords. I wanted to say Four of Wands, right? So there's still, to me, potential here for you to find security, I just feel like some of you have worked really hard, really, really hard to get what you want, but what you wanted ended up being something that was not good for you, right? But that potential is still there, because I'm looking at Hunter and Miracle, But I do think that for you, the best thing would be to, come out and say what you need to say and speak that truth that you know, because that may help you, make the right choice for you this time when it comes to, possibly a relationship or what you have love for in your life. I look at this and think you get to think about what you actually want this time and be a little bit more clear on that.